Okay, how is it that we are only 4 chapters into Judgment Day and things have already gotten this wild? So we have the leaks for chapter 357, and on the one hand, I am losing my mind over what apparently is going to happen in this week's chapter. But on the other hand, I'm really questioning how much of this chapter and the last 3 chapters are actually real. I say that because if you guys have already seen my prediction video for this week's chapter and forward going on with Judgment Day, which if you haven't, you should definitely go check it out. But in that video, I mentioned that I think everything that's happened over the last 3 chapters and the next few are going to be revealed to be just Lucius using his future sight to see into the one possible future where ends up winning. Which, by the way, I just want to say thank you to all you guys who actually have sit down and watched that video already. It's definitely my most viewed video that I've made in a long time, and I'm really starting to hope that what I said in that video actually ends up coming true, because even though they're not my most favorite character, I'm definitely not ready to say goodbye to the character that we end up losing in this chapter. Anyway, jumping right into the leaks, you guys know the deal. We're going to go over the leaks first and then talk about it afterwards. And of course, these leaks are courtesy of Night Baron and Diab over on Twitter. Okay, so the chapter opens up. Lucius easily stops Yuno's attack and says that since he took in Lucifero, he gained strong physical power, and such attacks like Yuno's won't reach him so easily. Such extreme magic, even you won't last that long. It's a bad idea. It will only prolong the suffering. Jack is pondering if he's going to die. Jack flashback. Yami is asking him during a fight what he's doing. Jack thinks that if Yami had been serious, he could have taken his left eye. Morgan shows up telling Yami that they have a mission and scolds Yami that they should get along with other squads, referring to his fight with Jack. Yami says it wasn't him who started it. Green Mantis NPCs, the Grey Deers, the light and dark combination, the top of our generation, light the strongest attribute of all time, and the unknown darkness, both are mystical, elusive magic. Jack remarks it's interesting and that one day he sliced them up. Back to the present, Yami is tending to Jack and Jack is seemingly ashamed of it. Morgan says, with my light, I'll send you to heaven. Jack's life is flashing before his eyes and he thinks that he's been ripping things up so far and now he'll slice everything up in one last major attack. Morgan looks a little bit surprised at the great slicing up. NPCs look shocked. Jack asks Yami how his last great attack was. Yami says it was quite the big deal. As Jack collapses, he says his only regret is that he wanted to slice up Yami directly. Morgan says it pains him, but from now on, more and more will die. However, it's alright, because they'll be reborn, and they'll all be happy together. Morris decays Marioleona's arm. Chapter ends. Okay, so I want to preference that as the recording of this video, the only leaked image I've seen for this chapter so far is Lucius catching Yuno's sword in the beginning of the chapter, which by the way it sounds in this description makes it seem like it's a lot easier for Lucius than it actually is, because if you look at the image and you zoom in on his hand that's holding the sword, showing that even with his brand new enhanced strength, he's still struggling to hold off against Yuno's weakest version of his spirit dive. So when he unlocks his brand new one, which is most likely going to be his most powerful, he more than likely will be able to easily take care of this version of Lucius. And also real quick, I'm going to address the Marioleona thing at the end of the chapter. Again, I haven't seen the leaked images for this scene so far, so I don't know exactly how bad it is. But at the end of the day, it is Marioleona. She has come back from a lot worse than having her arm decayed, and more than likely it's only been decayed a little bit and could possibly be fixed with healing magic, so I'm not too worried about her actually falling in this fight. Although, when I still had to make the video for this, I do have the theory that in this fight, we're going to see both Marioleona and Fugoyan get taken down, and this is when we finally see the return of everyone's fan favorite character, Leopold. Now, getting to the Jack stuff, if I'm being quite honest, reading this actually kind of broke me. And again, I am not the biggest fan of Jack. In fact, he's probably one of my least favorite captains out of all of them. But when you have a character who's been in the series for so long and so constant, it really does kind of hurt when they actually eventually end up dying. And for him to go out this way, where his final attack ultimately doesn't contribute anything towards them winning the war, and for him to finally die in the arms of his rival Yami, that just makes this whole situation even more depressing. And again, I'm not even a big fan of Jack, but even I was starting to shed a tear when I was reading that he would die this way in this chapter. And man, if I'm already starting to tear up after just reading the leaks, I can only imagine what's going to happen when I actually get my hands on the actual chapter. I'm probably going to end up crying more than Tanjiro does after he kills a demon. I really have to hand it to Tabata because if this actually is real and Jack actually is dead for good, then giving him this bittersweet ending is so fitting to the situation. Because in war arcs and manga, not every character is going to get a happy ending. A lot of characters are going to actually end up dying, and most are going to end up dying without actually contributing anything to the war itself. And to showcase that kind of death on not only a captain, but a fan favorite character takes a lot of balls. And that is, of course, if this is all actually happening, which, considering this is not Tabata's usual writing style and he doesn't usually like to kill off the good guys, it really is just leading me to believe that Lucius truly is looking through his future sight to see exactly how the one timeline where he loses is going to play out. But as of right now, we still have no idea if my theory is actually correct, so until we end up finding that out, the only thing we can do is say our final goodbyes and mourn the death of our beloved Captain Jack.